what we do in Tai Chi is that we generate power not through muscle contraction, but rather through expansion. And that's a hard concept for us to understand because of, especially the more trained we are, knowing about muscle spindles and loading and the power that we can generate. We want to push something, we engage our muscles and we push something. But Tai Chi, as you know, is not utilizing that principle of movement. In fact, the theory is that we can generate more power through expanding and softening the muscles. Now, why is this important to us? Well, it's important to us because when we contract a muscle, we're actually constricting muscle spindles, and we're also constricting blood flow, and it's sort of like we're kind of squeezing everything. Whereas when we expand, we can even learn to expand on a cellular level, so that we're expanding all of this tissue. And when we do that, then it gives room for nutrients to come in, for waste to go out, for lymphatic flow, blood flow, and there's a whole different process that goes on. Even negative and positive electrical activity goes on when we feel this expansion. And that's when the chi starts to flow. So we cannot expand if we're contracted. They work in complete opposites of each other. It's sort of like you can't be angry and have humor at the same time. They just don't coexist. All right, so contraction and expansion do not coexist. So the whole goal of our Tai Chi is to let go of contracting muscles, restricting muscles, tightening muscles, and learning to expand every tissue in our body. And we do this by songing, by first letting go of the contraction of our muscles. You understand what I mean when we contract a muscle, we're shortening that muscle. And just even now that I've become more, these words helped me. The more I was aware of this contraction versus expansion, the more I'm aware of how much contraction I still have going on. We call it tension, we call it this, but it's just a muscle contracting, and how much of that I carry through my day unnecessarily for the easiest of tasks. So if nothing else, it's made me more aware of how when I reach for a glass, or I pick up my glasses, or I'm sitting down in my chair, how much muscle activity and contraction I'm using that I really just don't need to use. And all of that is constricting our chi flow, our blood flow, the nutrient cycle of removing waste and bringing in good, healthy nutrients. So just knowing that contraction, expansion concept and becoming aware of when your body is contracting. Then we have this word song. And song is the Chinese word to overcome this contraction, muscle contraction that we all have. Now, we didn't have it when we were born as babies. I mean, if you think about it and how tight a baby can hold on to your fingers, and they don't have muscle structure at that point. They're soft, marshmallowy, beings. And yet they've got this ironclad grip. Okay, well that's because they're doing it through a Tai Chi principle rather than through our muscle activity. So it's almost like it runs a parallel. The more we start to evolve and engage in life, the more or the less efficient we become. The more things that happen to us, the more uptight we, that kind of thing. So physically as well. So song is that perfect state of being relaxed, but not, floppy, completely floppy and of no structure. And it's such a hard concept to employ because it doesn't involve contracture, it involves 100% expansion. So if you expand an area that is tense, then that tension will go away. So then I read this really cool thing that I want to share with you is the Chinese word song is magnificent. So I'm going to share it so that you can see it, and it will give you a visual for your body. So the Chinese character for song, which is translated in English as relax, the character includes a pine tree which is this lower part, that represents a pine tree, and hair. The upper part is hair. So if you think about that, then you can envision a pine tree. Why a pine tree? Because the pine tree trunk is very long and tall and straight, and not necessarily broad, but just thin and straight, isn't it? And then if you think about the hair, our hair, just like, look at Darcy's hair. It drapes. It's got no energy in it, really. I mean, it has energy, but it's not energy that's, active. It's just hanging. And so that's what we want to feel in our body. We want to feel that the muscles of our body are just hanging like hair. But the pine tree is in the center of our body and creates a sort of I don't want to say upward reaching, but just an upward core that is lengthening to our frame and our structure. So when we do our Tai Chi stance, just practice maybe 30 seconds a day of your Tai Chi stance in trying to let go of the muscles and make them feel like hair just hanging on your head, hanging down. And at the same time, you feel the pine tree in the core, in the center of your posture. Isn't that cool? Okay. So what I would like to do next is we're going to do this Qigong movement that I call vertical flying. And I like vertical flying because it's an expression of song. And when you really start to let go of your muscles and let them hang, then you could just stay up on your balls of your feet forever. But it's a nice way of sort of getting glimpses of and experiencing the song and the effectiveness of song. Okay, so let's try that. So for those of you that don't remember, this is the one where you want to have your feet shoulder width apart. You don't want them real far apart. And we are going up on our toes, but then I want you to feel as though your muscles are the hair and your spine is the pine tree. And then you just, when you come back down, I don't know, I still feel the hair. The hair is just falling down to the ground, but my pine tree's not collapsing and bending to it. It's staying upright. And you've watched a pine tree in the wind. It still has bend. It still has flexibility. It's not 100% rigid. So up, and then let the hair, you can even imagine your own hair. Feel your own hair being heavy. And then let it be heavier and heavier, and the pine tree gets taller and taller. Nice. There you go. Yeah, good. Now let's see if we can, we'll do it one more time. Come on, let's do it one more time. So let it go, let it go. Let all that hair just hang. And your skeleton is the pine tree. And you can even have a whole bunch of little pine trees, like the joints between your fingers can expand, so every bone is the center of the pine tree. This is the center of the pine tree. This is, and they lengthen a little bit. It's a juxtaposition in equal quantity, the letting go of the heaviness, and yet feeling this nice thin line of lengthening. Yes. Now let's do commencement form. This one right here. Go ahead and just go right into commencement form. Okay, so when we do commencement form, this muscle does engage. Our shoulder engages, right, to lift up. Okay, so it's like just for simplicity purposes, it's like we have a pulley arm of muscles here and we're lifting it up from the top. Yeah? Does that make sense? Okay. Instead, I want you to feel like these muscles are expanding forward and they're lifting your arm up for you. Yeah, oh, Randy, that was beautiful. Can we do that again? Now let's do it with both. So rather than pulling it up from the top, which would be muscle contraction actually, I want you to feel expansion from underneath the arm, almost like it's the muscles are lengthening from here to here, then here to here, then here to here, and there's a balloon in your hands that's also floating your hand up. So start down here and then just play with it. Go at your own pace and feel a lengthening of the underneath of the arms rather than a shortening of the top of the arms. Yeah, right there, my poof, energy just, and then here, it's a heaviness and the gravity just brings it down for you. Yeah. So underneath the arms is lengthening forward, and that's what floats the arms up. That's it. Yeah. Nice. Totally different experience, isn't it? Yeah, and lots of energy. So, you know, you don't have to remember these Tai Chi forms and everything. I want to equip you with one or two things that's going to allow you to feel this expansion, this songing. So you've got the imagery of the pine tree and the hair, and then I want you to think of, instead of contracting, let's just do commencement form. You can practice this on your own. Rather than contracting your shoulder joint, that you're actually lengthening the underneath of your arms. That's it, Barbara. Yeah. And then we just let go, and now we're lengthening our spine. Yeah. And so just practice that 30 seconds a day. Your chi level will change, guaranteed. Guaranteed. Because you're using expansion rather than contraction, and you're giving space for all of the biochemistry that's supposed to be going on in our body to do it, to work within that space. If we're constricted, we don't have space to allow that exchange. Okay. All right, that's the lesson of the week.